Welcome to Relationships on Reddit. In this series, we look at posts on Reddit. We'll check out some of the responses. I'll provide some coaching questions for exploration, as I would for a client who is in the situation. Then finally, I'll provide my commentary at the end of just being myself, unfiltered and unadulterated. Hi, I'm Janelle, the relationship coach behind The Successful Invisible. Check out my links below if you're interested in working with me for group coaching or one-on-one coaching. The goal of exploring these posts is to have you become more discerning, intentional, and successful in your dating and relationships. Let's jump into this Reddit post about honestly the wellness of a partner and how it can impact the quality of your relationship. Let's get into it. My 26 female partner's 37 male unhealthy lifestyle is bothering me. Now, this Reddit post is about a year old from the relationship advice sub, and it looks like this user actually deleted it, but I still think there's a lot of value in this post. We have been together for 2 years, and we have an awesome relationship. My partner has some really unhealthy habits, and it's really starting to get to me. Unfortunately, he suffers from something called ARFID, AFRID, Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder, which means he eats his comfort foods that only consist of fried food like chicken and fries, pizza, garlic bread, and potato chips. He also drinks beer about 2 to 3 times a day and usually only has sugary drinks. I rarely see him drink water. I have asked him multiple times if he would consider seeing a therapist about this disorder, and he always has an excuse or says he will, but then never follows through. As for exercise, it's almost non-existent. I can tell he wants to exercise more, but just blames getting old and having no energy, so he doesn't. I'm a fairly active person, weight training a few times a week, I walk everywhere, and I have a very physical job. I also really like home-cooked meals and to eat healthy. Although I do like sweets and the occasional fast food, I try to balance everything out. Anytime I bring these things up, he immediately gets defensive and says I'm attacking him and won't talk about it. I try to be as gentle as I can and try to explain that it's coming from a place of love and caring. I'm especially concerned as his family has a history of high blood pressure and heart disease / attacks because his family are also not healthy and don't take care of themselves. It's really bothering me that he won't take care of himself, and I just want us to both be healthy and live long lives together. I don't know what to do at this point. I feel like we're just not compatible in that way. At this point, I know I can't change him and that he needs to make those choices, but how do I stop it from ruining our relationship and bothering me so much? The first response, we have Jojo Likes Bikes says, he's 10 years older than you, a heavy drinker, and he eats like a toddler. He isn't going to change. There's a reason women his age won't date him. Then Constant Cultural says, I am a woman his age, and true. That 100%. Then the deleted comment says, yep, who wants a partner that is slowly killing himself? I want a long life with my partner, not just some years. Okay, Tragic Calms says, even taking the judgment out of it, if your lifestyles are incompatible, they're incompatible. There are absolutely women in their 30s who love beer and fried foods and hate hikes and won't touch the gym. He should probably be with someone who shares his goals and habits, and you, someone who shares yours. Yes, OP, you could try to find a compromise, air quotes, but this isn't how you take out the trash or how loud you like your music, whether you use headphones or speakers, etc. Lifestyles are different. They consume tons of your time and energy in the short term and long term. It impacts your hobbies, social life, budget, your career choices, your fitness and health, your priorities. Hell, even how you enjoy vacations and dates is shaped by what you care about and like to do, especially as the years move. My partner and I go to the gym together, and I work a lot. So that's an important activity for us to share and way to get some time together. Neither of us like to travel constantly, and neither of us would do well dating someone who did. People with different lifestyles can date, but there needs to be contentment with your partner's choices. If your partner partied every weekend, even if it never turned into addiction, that would be a deal breaker for a lot of people, even if the person is nice and not hooked on drugs or alcohol. It's okay to love someone and realize you're incompatible. At 30 plus, most people's lifestyles are settled and they're not interested in changes. The question is, are you happy doing this forever if nothing substantively changes? Because it probably won't. I love this take. I think this was a very well laid out way to explain. This isn't just something small. This, OP's boyfriend seems to have a condition, but he also is not managing it very well. At 36, 37, he seems to be set in his ways of just poor eating habits, lack of activity, probably excess weight. And if his excess weight is not showing, that means, because a lot of skinny people aren't quote unquote healthy, because they are, from all their poor lifestyle habits and food choices, all of that fat that, if you're carrying excess weight, you can see visibly, that stuff is going around your internal organs. And that's why many times doctors say it's very deceptive. If you see someone who's thin, that does not mean they are healthy. You know what I mean? They may appear fit. That doesn't mean they're healthy. So this man is headlong going on a roller coaster to disease, especially since OP says that runs in his family. And I think that's a great way to put it. They just have incompatible lifestyles, and she really needs to think about this in consideration of if she wants a long-term relationship. Then we have two deleted comments for response 3. The first deleted comment says, deleted user is saying, being in a relationship with someone whose lifestyle differs so much from you can be extremely difficult at times. At the end of the day, you only want for the best for him, and he isn't really trying to understand that. For me personally, I'm not sure if I could be in a relationship where the other person is basically slowly killing themselves and refuses to get help. If it's something you can reflect on and continue to heal and continue to deal with in the relationship, then you've got your answer. Stay with him. However, if it's something you simply don't see yourself putting up with for the rest of your life, then again, you've got your answer there. I understand how hard your situation must be, however, and I almost relate in a way. But it's important you put yourself first and recognize what's best for you. The next deleted comment, who was a response to that first one, says, also, the exercise thing in regards to his age is definitely ridiculous. My dad is nearing 50 years old and still lifts weights multiple times a week alongside playing football with his friends without being harsh. He's just being lazy. Accurate and facts. Once again, this is about, are you willing to accept the damage that your partner is doing to their body, into their systems, into their health? And she's in her 20s. Honestly, OP shouldn't even be dealing with this. She needs to respect where he chooses to be at, because he's making an active choice by not seeking help, and just part ways with him. You can love somebody, but sometimes you need to be wise enough to see love is not enough to sustain a relationship, and part ways when you see there's too many incompatibilities between you two. Next, we have a comment from Rage Fueled Peace, who says, people don't change because they're told to. They may briefly change, but will resort back to previous behaviors. They change because they want to. If they're not ready, if they don't really want to, then nothing will happen or stick if it does. You can't change people. If he's perfectly fine with his lifestyle and you're not, it's an incompatibility issue. You'll have to decide if it's a deal breaker for you or not. Riff Thane says the first step for him is to recognize he has an issue. Then you can help and support him. But since he doesn't see an issue with his lifestyle, I don't know what you can really do. Or maybe with some external counseling. If you plan to spend your life together and build a family, I can't see how you can go over it. With aging, these issues will become more important and you won't be able to dismiss it. Very true. Aging is a part of, the circle of life. It's the way we age that's important. So if you're with somebody who is not taking care of themselves, and especially if you're in the early stages or in the, early courtship or just initial flirting stages, you need to really take that into consideration. If they're not really taking care of their health, or clearly on their path, meaning they're actively changing their habits and they've been doing that for a while, say 6 months or more, and it's consistent and it's diligent, and you're seeing that work that they're putting in to change the way they live. Because I think everybody can change, but like OP said, they have to want to change. If they're not doing that, then you really need to consider, is this a wise person, a wise choice to even consider as a partner? And the answer is no, because if they get sick, you are their partner. And especially if you're a woman, the expectation is going to be on you to take care of them. Whereas if you're a woman and you get sick, it's 6 times more likely for your husband to leave you or your partner to leave you. So you will be kind of stuck like Chuck either way, if you get sick or if he gets sick. So do not really lean into entertaining partners who aren't diligent about their own health, wellness, and fitness. Moving on, we're going to jump into a segment that I like to call green flags and red flags. We basically look at the post that I just read through, and from a coaching perspective, I'm going to identify some of the green flags and the red flags to help you become a more informed and better person to date, and better when you go out on your own dating exploits and adventures to make wiser decisions. Green flags. Okay, in this post, I can't say there are a lot of green flags, but there are a couple, and I want to pull them out. The first thing, I do feel that it's a green flag that her boyfriend, OP's boyfriend, already knows the name of his condition. So they actually have something that they can approach and treat in a tactical manner. Condition, disorder, whatever you want to call it. I also really appreciate that she is mindful that, hey, this is going to have long-term negative effects on his health, on the quality of our relationship, on, my caregiving possibly, etc. I also appreciate that OP has suggested counseling to her boyfriend who seems to be suffering with this AFRID, AFRID, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. So I feel that she is aware and she is making positive suggestions. From what I can infer from the post, she also is not the one who is feeding him this stuff. He feeds himself this crap. I also think it's a green flag that she prefers home cooked meals and has a healthy set of habits on her own. It will make it a lot easier for her, in my opinion, as a coach, to pivot out of this relationship and attract the type of partner who has similar or complementary lifestyle habits. That's a plus. Another green flag I appreciated is that she knows a bit about her partner's family's medical history. So she kind of can already see what's on the horizon. And she's also already seen his family and they're not the healthiest. That in itself isn't the green flag, but the fact that she actually has a good bit of information about him, his condition, his family's medical history, none of this is her responsibility, but it's a green flag that she knows this because it's showing awareness. And to me, it's also showing she's trying to be very proactive, because I get the sense that when it's her turn to cook or when they go out, if she's driving the activity, they're going to be doing a lot healthier things and eating healthier foods. Okay, red flags. There are so many red flags in this post. The first one being there's an 11-year age gap between these two. And I find it very interesting that a 37-year-old man who is leading a trash lifestyle in terms of his habits really even was able to attract a 26-year-old woman. It's also telling he does not want to date women who have similar habits as himself. My guess is part of it unhealthy, but if it shows up, let's be honest, men are usually a little more superficial in dating and partnering in relationships. If he's overweight, not a shape, and maybe isn't the most aesthetically pleasing in that aspect, he's not interested in dating his counterpart. He's not interested in dating a woman with those habits. Another red flag is that OP is even putting up with this, because honestly, she doesn't have to. He is 37 and he has made the choice not to really take the reins around his health and wellness and probably get into some therapy around his disorder. That's on him. I feel that she is really putting too much energy in this. he doesn't want to change. And so she should not negatively be impacted by it. I think that's kind of a red flag as well. She's coming to Reddit seeking answers because, how can she change his mind or change, the way that he does things and learn how to compromise? There's nothing to compromise here. He has to have the desire to address his disorder, I'm sorry. And at this time, he doesn't want to. Another red flag is huge is he every time she suggests him going to therapy, he makes excuses, he doesn't follow through, he blames getting older and the fact he can't exercise. He has all of these responses that are clear about avoidance and self-sabotage. Once again, these are his to deal with. OP cannot help him. She's 26. She's living a healthy lifestyle, it sounds like, and she has a very physically intensive job. And it sounds like she has some pretty balanced eating habits. So my guess is her health, wellness, and even level of fitness is not the issue. My guess is also he's dating her because he thinks she's hot. So it's also very inconsiderate. That's a red flag. He's not caring about his health and doesn't care how it's affecting her. That's a huge red flag. Because when you're really dating somebody and we all do this, men and women, this isn't a single gender thing, both genders do this. We will adjust the way we're doing something. I'm not talking about somebody changing you as a person. We will adjust the way we are doing things to be a little more in sync with this partner that we say we like. And he's not doing anything. He's not compromising. He just wants to be leading this very shitty lifestyle in terms of diet and exercise, etc. And my guess is it's his refusal to deal with it is going to inadvertently start coming out and affecting her. He could start, nagging her, nitpicking at her because of her healthy habits, because it could be triggering to him every time he sees her, it could remind him that he's not following a healthy, path. So there are so many red flags, and this is one of those relationships you may just have to see the incompatibility and part ways, and that's okay. So if you've ever been in something like this or you are in something like this, take note and understand this is a time of self-reflection, and probably it's time to cut the ties for a relationship like this. Now we're moving on to some coaching questions. These are the type of questions that I would ask in a session, during a coaching session with a client who is experiencing a similar situation to what I described in the Reddit post in their own dating lives. The purpose of these questions is to better inform you about your decisions in dating, gain more self-awareness, gain more awareness of other people's circumstances, and be prepared to pivot, move, and make wiser decisions in your own dating lives. Question 1. How can the importance of health and wellness be communicated in a relationship without coming across as critical or demanding? This is a great question because I think you want to start off with dealing with potential partners. We'll even use dating apps as an example, who are already displaying certain characteristics and lifestyle habits that are in alignment or a complement to your own. It's a very easy thing to discuss when you're having two people who are already making it a priority in their lives. You know what I mean? It becomes more of a touchy, maybe uncomfortable thing to discuss when you have one partner who is living a healthy lifestyle and another who is not, especially when you're talking about representations of where weight would come into play. And for that reason, you need to be mindful of where you yourself is at, because, one of my pillars, you attract what you are, not what you want. So become what you want to attract. So if you want to attract a very healthy partner, you yourself need to be healthy first. So I think you can discuss this and it'd be a very smooth discussion when you are only pulling or mainly pulling from a pool of prospects or your dating pool where men are already showing that this is a priority in their lives. And you have discussions about this early. You can have discussions about this early on, and they'll go likely pretty smoothly. Just in a general sense. Now, the specifics, of course, can get dicey, but I feel if you are showing and demonstrating and showing up as someone who is made their health, wellness, and fitness a priority, it's a lot easier to have that discussion because you're more likely to attract that in a partner. That's what you're seeking in a partner. And then you all may even have dates that are very physically active, like, hey, let's go for a hike. Hey, let's jog this, this track or whatever, or have a gym date. So it's a lot easier when you're there and then you're attracting a partner or only dating men who are also there. Question 2. What are effective strategies for supporting a partner with a specific health condition like ARFID, while still advocating for a healthier lifestyle? Okay, to me, if a person does have a partner and they have a certain health disorder or condition that they feel they can be a supportive partner to manage, then you're going to have some very honest conversations and potentially some uncomfortable conversations. I would say to study up on it yourself, look up some things on Google, maybe, reach out. There's YouTube videos on everything under the sun. So you probably can find quite a bit of information online first, and then understanding your partner's particular condition with that disorder or, disease or what have you, especially when it's health and wellness related. Have those discussions early and then make a very real kind of tactical plan about how you all want to address that. Your partner has to do the work. The person with the with the disorder has to do the work, but you can be supportive and you can hold them accountable. Now, we're not talking about any weird dynamic where somebody's feeling bullied, but in a healthy way. And that's part of an adult, emotionally mature relationship. So it can be done. So some effective strategies I would say is clarity, educating oneself before you go into conversation about it, creating a safe space to have the discussion about it so your partner doesn't feel blindsided or ambushed by the discussion. I feel it's having that very safe space to have the discussion, but also being educated on the health condition or disorder before you start can really make a difference and an impact on having a really positive outcome and you two feeling like a team as you move forward in addressing whatever that health condition is. Question 3. When faced with resistance to change, especially regarding health and lifestyle, what steps can be taken to foster a more open and productive dialogue? So, I would say if this is in the sense of you are married to a partner or in a long-term committed relationship, first think, what you want to address about it. If it's something that's impacting you negatively, if it's in something that's impacting your partner to an extent that it's interfering with their quality of life, understand the parts that you really want to address. Because I think sometimes it's too big at one time to address the whole thing because there's a lot of emotion, tied to that and other things and probably ego when there's this resistance to change. Understanding their resistance. Why are they resistant? Why are they self-sabotaging? Is it this fear of success? Is it fear of change? Is it fear of, doing something different? Is it fear that they won't, that they're losing a part of themselves? Things like this, resistance usually has a lot to do with it. Is it simply ego? And then once you all identify, or really it's your partner's job, if your partner's the one with these health conditions, it's their responsibility to identify the root cause of this resistance. And if they are serious about it, you two can have this discussion together about, okay, how do we address this? How do we come about this? What can we do to remedy this or get this in remission or cure you from this, whatever the case may be. So I think it's really challenging the partner who has the health condition to really dig deep internally to figure out their resistance. And that can often take therapy to do. You will need that professionally trained, independent third party to help you do that lurking and exploring deep down. I mean, it's not easy and it can be very uncomfortable at times, but I think that's one way that this can be addressed and foster that open dialogue by saying, hey, I don't know everything about this. Maybe going to a professional to talk about it may be the best, first step. And then see where you get from that. Question 4: where can boundaries be set in a relationship regarding lifestyle choices? And how can these boundaries be communicated effectively without affecting the relationship negatively? This is, I think, art and science. So, this is part communication, part emotional maturity, and two willing parties to have this discussion and set these boundaries. Because the partner who does not is not afflicted directly by this health condition really needs to consider how much they are going to pour into this, and they need to draw, for their own sense of safety, they need to draw a boundary like, hey, I can help you with meal prepping, but I'm not going to be the food police for you, in the case of an OP's case with what her boyfriend is afflicted with. So drawing that boundary is going to be important, and that comes through when you have those discussions about the support that you can provide. You also need to be clear about what you're not going to do. I feel this establishment of boundaries during that exact time or at the same time is going to be very helpful in seeing things kind of as a package deal. I can help you, but I'm not doing all that, or I can help you this much, but I'm not going to entertain that. Or you're giving me permission to do this thing that may be out of character. I would really, really think about having anyone do things that are really out of character in terms of a healthy relationship dynamic that would come off as controlling or lead to abuse or anything like that. That can work. For instance, somebody just, taking your food from in front of you and dumping it in the garbage. But I don't think that's healthy, because it's still not truly helping the person who has the health condition in this case to really learn to manage it on their own. Um, so a boundary setting discussion at the same time as you're having the support discussion is going to be huge. And boundaries can be set anywhere where the person who is not impacted directly by the health condition or disorder is going to be giving too much of themselves, more than the person who actually has the condition or disorder. So it could be, I can meal prep, but you have to help, or I'm not going to meal prep, or the days you eat over my house, we're going to do this, or we're going to be active this many times a week. I think it's very clear. It needs to be outlined what the other partner is going to do to help in order to help the one with the health condition. So that there's not a boundary issue further down the line. And that's going to be different for every couple. One size is not going to fit all. But once you figure out what that boundary is, you definitely need to both understand it, vocalize it, and move forward. Question 5: how can personal feelings of frustration or concern about a partner's unhealthy habits be managed without allowing these feelings to overshadow the positive aspects of the relationship? That's a good question. And the biggest thing I would say is it depends. If your partner is engaged in something that's so detrimental that it's overshadowing the good of the relationship, you may want to just leave the relationship. If it's not to that extreme and extent, it's going to take some abilities to compartmentalize kind of the things that you're talking about in reference to their health condition and then the other parts of their time you enjoy with them. So this is definitely going to differ for every couple who is facing a challenge like this. If you feel that you're in a relationship and your partner's health condition or disorder is overshadowing positive things, or it's overtaking their personality, or it's causing them to use you as a punching bag emotionally, physically, etc., you already know this is not your problem to handle. It never was your problem to handle, but you can't support them because they don't want support. They want somebody to blame. So it's that clarity and understanding where they're coming from, their understanding of the issue, their willingness to do the work that is going to make, honestly, all the difference. So I think that's going to vary. The personal feelings of frustration are going to vary by relationship and depend on what the specific scenario is. But at the end of the day, whatever's impacting your partner, in terms of their health condition or disorder, it shouldn't negatively impact you to the extent that it starts bringing you down. That's when you know, okay, this may not be a healthy space for me to be in, and I need to, exit stage left and get myself healed before I can be impactful, healthy partner to someone else. Questions in the last section, but definitely just to go a little more into this particular area and some kind of words of wisdom for the ladies out here who are in these dating streets, especially on these apps, trying to really navigate and do the best and safest thing for themselves. All right. Now, just my thoughts on this post. I would say the biggest thing for this particular OP, she's 26, he's 37. I don't think this is a relationship that is worth her investing in. Honestly, this man is near 40 and he is not taking his health, wellness, and fitness seriously. Yes, he has a disorder. He knows the name of the disorder, but he is actively refusing to get help and manage his own condition. This is only going to smell disaster for her. This is only going to smell work for her down the line, and her partner getting sick on her and therefore negatively impacting her quality of life down the line. Whether they get married or not, if they end up in a long-term relationship with one another, as in living together the whole nine, he's going to expect her to do all that work. And that's not fair to her, especially when she is doing things to actively live a healthy lifestyle. Now, my best advice to anyone in such a situation, really evaluate if this is what you want, because it's also this. Someone, if you're partnered with someone and they're not actively managing something that is their problem, it also shows a level of selfishness on their behalf because they don't care if it negatively impacts you. They, to be fair, they're probably not thinking about you as the main person it's going to impact, but we live up or down to people's expectations, especially in partnership. To an extent, that is healthy. We're not talking about control. We're not talking about anything like that. But to an extent, that is healthy. You want to be your best for your partner, and they should want to be their best for you. And the fact that OP's boyfriend in this Reddit post just doesn't seem to care and is kind of doing his own thing with it and making excuses and not getting the psychological help he probably needs to effectively manage this, along with he probably needs to go see a nutritionist or a dietitian to really learn how to eat. He may need a personal trainer if he's carrying a lot of excess weight. He can't even exercise the way he wants to. Like he needs to start making the effort and putting forth, the money and the time and the investment to help himself. And he's not doing that. So I would say in her case, especially for as young as she is, she needs to walk away. Now, for other people who are potentially in this situation, you need to reevaluate things too. That doesn't mean just leave someone as soon as they get sick. That's not what I'm referring to. But if you have someone who is actively not helping themselves and they're not getting the help to understand the root of this and it's bringing you down, you really need to think about, is this worth staying? Of course, if you're married and have kids and there are all these other factors tied into it, you may not be able to just get up and walk away. However, you need to really think about what is happening in your life, how their maybe lack of working on the things they need to work on is helping you, it is affecting you, affecting the quality of your relationship, etc. Next thing, and a lot of people may find this controversial, but it's true. If you don't feel that you are at your best in terms of health, wellness, and fitness, and I'm doing my own self-work in this category as well, maybe you need to not date for a time and get those things on track. My thing is, I go by what I work with my clients about. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So if you are not at your best in terms of health, wellness, and fitness, and you have some really detrimental habits that are negatively impacting you, you need to really get a handle on those and address those and get to the emotional root of those things through whatever means you need to, through a therapist, through a trainer, through a nutritionist, dietitian, etc. You need to do that work. And during that time, it may be best to take some time out from dating. So when you show up, your dating pool can be aligned to who you are. And if who you are is someone who is at their best in terms of, or a person who is very deep into their process of consistently becoming their best in terms of health, fitness, and wellness, you're going to get a far different response and have a different pool of people to choose from versus you are still at the starting line and you haven't done your work yet. So I would say if you are not where you want to be, this is not about being a size 2. This is about looking at your habits. It's about looking at your fitness as well. We're not going to lie. We are looking at, that as well. It's a component. It's not the full thing. If you don't like where you're at, take a step back, give yourself a timeline, and really work on you, because you want to be able to attract a partner who is a complement to you. And this goes for men or women. If you don't like where you are, and the reality is you wouldn't date you because you're not your physical type, or you have lifestyle habits that you wouldn't accept in a partner, then that's your hint. You probably need to take a step back from dating right now and work on those areas. Okay? Because you want to attract someone who also has done their self-work in their personhood and is showing up and has a lot of positive qualities that are going to be a complement to yours. Especially when I'm dealing with the demographic of people I'm dealing with. So I mainly work with professionals who are 35 years or older, where the impacts of lifestyle habits are starting to show. Could be, serious signs, but it could be more major signs. So if you haven't done well by your health since you were 18, you need to really rethink that, and you really need to take different steps and work on that. Or if you have other lifestyle habits that are just really negative for a relationship, I'll take smoking. Smoking is a no for me. It's an absolute no for me. I don't like cigarettes. I had an aunt pass away from complications from smoking. She didn't have emphysema, but she got really bad pneumonia and some other things. And I would say 9 months, she definitely suffered for it. So I saw how bad cigarette smoking can be. But deeper than that, that's an addiction. Smoking is an addiction. It's that's legalized. Smoking cigarettes is anyway, because, the government gets money off of it and they sell them in the stores. But anyone who smoking is a hard no for me. Smoking, marijuana is just very off-putting to me, and it can mess with your reproductive, the quality of your sperm or your eggs. So a person who smokes is definitely very unattractive to me. But if I had some lifestyle habits like that, I would be really thinking, would I date a person like me who had these habits? And the answer would probably be no. Most people, even like OP's boyfriend, he doesn't want to date a woman who had bad habits. I'm likely believing that it has an impact on physical appearance. Because my guess is at minimum, he's out of shape. At worst, he's quite, he's quite unhealthy, and that reflects in his level of fitness. He does not want to date a woman who is his counterpart, which is wild to me. That's the hypocrisy. So if you have bad habits, look at them and start working on them, and maybe take a break from dating. It would be best. Clear your energy out and really become the person you want to attract. Okay? Because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. It's just, you got to be a little more picky about these things. And this is not about being superficial. It's okay to be superficial to an extent. We all are. This is more about the long-term impacts. You do not want to get with someone who is going to get sick in a few years after you, let's say, get married, and then you're responsible for being their nurse until they die. That's very unfair for you, and it's not helping them. It's something that it's going to enable them. So become what you want to attract, and maybe take a break from the dating pool while you're working on yourself and leveling up. And then you are able to attract a different pool of candidates because you're at a different place. You have different habits. Let's be honest, you may look different. You know what I mean, etc. Become what you want to attract. Really work on and be honest with yourself about the bad habits you have that you may need to let go of. And then you will be able to have these discussions about health, wellness, and fitness very early on in a very comfortable way, because you're already at a certain level of health, wellness, and fitness. And then it's easier to attract that in as a partner, from a partner. Thank you for joining me today for this episode of Relationships on Reddit. Watch this video again. Answer the question several times. It's okay. Let me know your thoughts around my thoughts on some of the questions as well. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The more we can have these conversations amongst ourselves, with one another, with other women, the more we can gain the insights we need to gain to date in a more intentional manner and in a safer, more effective manner. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, check out the links below in the description box. Also, check out my podcast, The Successful Invisible, next season, publishing soon, on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Until next time, this is your relationship coach, Jane L., signing off.